Alright, this is a video response to some of the disturbing videos that I watched yesterday regarding single action army type weapons. This is a Pietta 1873 Cattleman or Frontier, whatever they call it, I don't remember, but it's 1873 single action army clone. To let everyone know, this one is in fact loaded. I will go ahead and unload because I am going to be taking the cylinder out. This one is in 45 Colt, not long Colt. We don't have short Colt anymore. That is actually 45 Schofield. Anyway, so what disturbed me was that the people I watched had no idea of what the parts were or what they were talking about, and it was a little disturbing. You really kind of need to know what the parts are when you're working on a gun, especially if you're taking it apart. This is a trigger. This is a hammer. This is a cylinder. This is a cylinder pin. This is an ejector rod. This is a front sight, and this is the pin that holds tension on the cylinder rod that keeps the cylinder from coming out. This is a loading gate. Loading gate. On a true Colt clone that has the hammer, the firing pin on the hammer. This is a firing pin, by the way. You should hear 4 clicks. Unless you have one of those crappy wannabe like Rugers or something like that that has a transfer bar safety, then you're only going to get 3 or maybe even 2 clicks. You should hear the first click. All right, that first click is your safety notch. All right, what that does, it takes the firing pin off of the primer of the cartridge. So if you have a round sitting in there, which I don't, I always load 5. But if you had 6 in here, you would leave it on that notch. And what that would do is it would take the firing pin off, laying on the primer itself, and reduce the chances of, if you hit it or dropped it, it's setting off a round. The second notch is for loading. That allows the cylinder to spin in one direction. So when you're loading, you would take this, drop your round in, skip one, go to the next, and then you load 4 more. And the reason we do this is because when you do the 4 more, all right, you get on your last one, close the loading gate, cock the hammer all the way to the rear. Always let the hammer down when it's all the way to the rear. Don't get it halfway back and just let it forward. You'll mess up the innards. So let it down. Now you're sitting, it's very hard to see, but you're sitting on an empty chamber. All right, that's a safe way to carry a single action. If we were in combat or something and back in the day, cowboy days or whatever, maybe you'd load 6 and leave it on the safety notch. But you know what? This ain't my go-to gun. If I need a go-to gun, I always have a Glock 17 or a Beretta 92 somewhere nearby. Okay, these are go-to-war guns. This is not. Okay, this is for fun. Anyway, so to unload, again, put on your half cock, your second notch, and then you would hit the ejector rod that would knock the shells out. Again, these will just fall out because they haven't been fired, so they haven't been fire formed. But whatever, I'll show you. That's how that works. All right, your third click kind of locks in the that allows the bolt stop to come up, and I'll show you that here in just a minute. And your fourth click is you're ready to fire. Okay, so now if you pull the trigger, the hammer falls, boom, goes off, and then you go through the whole thing again. Now, in order to take the cylinder out of these, you're gonna push this button right here. All right, cylinder cross pin. And you take your cylinder pin out. Now this cylinder pin's been modified. The original cylinder pin was extra long. You'll notice it has 2 notches here. Okay, Piettas, Ubertis, things like that do this. That way, if you put it in that first notch, it'll fire. But if you put it in the second notch where it looks correct, it sticks out further and it won't allow the hammer to come all the way home. I didn't like that. I liked it with the flush look to it, so I just cut the pin down a little bit. Then what you want to do is put it on half cock, or take it back, open your loading gate, and you want to just move your hammer back and forth a little bit, and this will allow, there you go, this will allow your cylinder to come out. All right, there's your cylinder. This is a cylinder. This is the actual ratchet paws right here that the paw or the hand moves up. This and this is going to be kind of hard to see, but right in here, sticking up just a little bit, right beside where the cylinder pin would be, that is called a hand. It's not called a pushy uppy thing, okay? It's called a hand, like your hand. All right, and the last piece to know is stop. That's your bolt stop or stop, okay? That is what, whenever you're rotating the cylinder, that's what clicks into these notches here and makes the cylinder stop on time to where it's lined up perfectly with the barrel, and you don't have, you know, out of battery or out of, what am I trying to think of? The cylinder's lined up correctly so the bullet doesn't hit the side of the barrel or hit the forcing cone. It does that, you'll shave pieces of lead off and you'll have a lot of problems, like lead to the face. It's quite painful. Anyway, this is where the firing pin comes through. So whenever you pull the trigger, the firing pin protrudes from here. Notice there is no, I mean, that's directly, that's the firing pin. It's on the hammer. This is not a gun that has a, again, it's not one that has a transfer bar safety. So imagine this thing having the cylinder in it and you're sitting around like this that is loaded right on top of it, okay? Any bump, the slightest bump on this hammer, because it's going to be sitting back just about like this, any bump on that hammer is going to cause that round to go off. That's why we only load 5, or if you're going to load 6, again, I don't know why you would, but if you're going to, always keep it on the safety notch, because now the firing pin is moved out of the way and you can safely have it down. And again, this shows the ejector rod coming out. It comes there in the front, and you push down and it comes out here, and this is where it ejects the rounds. So anyway, putting it back together, very simple. Just stick a cylinder in there, kind of move your hand around. You gotta, or your trigger, your hammer rather, you're trying to move the hand out of the way because the hand is trying to stick up. Once you get it in the right spot, normally if it didn't have these notches you would just stick it anywhere, but it does have these notches, so unfortunately I got to line it up just right or it won't work correctly. But once you get it in there, you get that in there, and again you might have to wiggle the cylinder around just a little bit to get it right, and see how it clicked into that first notch. Now normally that would be the firing notch and it would not be protruding from here, but again I changed that, so now I can push it all the way through, and actually a little bit too far through, and now it's still not sticking out far enough to block the hammer, and that is what you want. And it may have in fact been cut down just a tad bit too much, but it's all right. So see, now it locks into that notch, and so it looks flush, it looks correct. This is what a 1873 would have looked like back in the 1800s. It would not have been sticking, the pin would have been sticking out way up here. So anyway, there's a little bit of information for you. So next time you go looking at these and you're you know, taking a gander at one and wondering what the different parts mean and what they do, and et cetera, that's what they do. Those are the correct nomenclature for these parts. Again, it's not the pushy uppy thing. It's not the, you know, just the ridiculous amount of retardation I heard last night on some of these YouTube videos. You know, if you're gonna do a video on a gun, hey, I'm all for it. I love them, love watching them. But if you don't know what you're talking about, educate yourself a little bit before you do it. Anyway, again, this is a Pietta 1873. This is a nice engraved model. It's got the silver, they call it silver, I'm sure this is not really silver, it's probably nickel plated frame with the blued barrel, and the barrel's engraved, the back strap's engraved, you know, the trigger guard's engraved here. But really nice model, love this one. Again, in 45 Colt. Next one I might get might just be a 4440. That was another popular cartridge back in the day. Winchester came out with their, I believe their 1873 carbine in 4440, and so Colt came up with the Colt Frontier 1873, which was just the regular 1873 chambered in 4440. They did that because of the rising popularity of that cartridge. But anyway, Merry Christmas to all, and to all a good night. See y'all later.